Hello everybody, AJ Ryzik here, and for today's Linux OS review, we're taking a look at Linux Lite 3.0. Now, Linux Lite is one of the distributions that I tend to recommend to new users or people that are making the move from Windows to Linux. It's also a very nice distribution for someone that has to maintain the computers of the other people in the household, or maybe it's for your company, small business, whatever. In my case. A couple of my kids are using Linux Lite on their laptops. My daughter, my two boys, they're using Linux Lite. I think they're running version 2.8. My stepdaughter does run regular Ubuntu on her laptop, and actually, now that I'm thinking of it, I need to get to doing an update on her computer because I think she's still running 15.10. But anyway, um, all that being said, it is a very user-friendly distro. It is, as far as installing the updates and keeping it updated and all that kind of thing, very easy to work with. So that's the reason that this is one of the distros that I recommend to new users. But anyway, we're at version 3.0 now. They have gone to the Ubuntu 16.04 code base. Previous version was based on Ubuntu 14.04. So all of the updates, the new, the newer kernel, all that kind of stuff, you get with, the latest version of Linux Lite. One of the things that Linux Lite has traditionally done well is their welcome screen. This version is no exception. You can see I've got the welcome screen open right here, and talks a little bit about the distro, and then it just points it out for you. Hey, start right here, so that you can install updates and proprietary drivers if need be, upgrade your software, add software, hardware recommendations, online support, the help manual, hardware database, contributing, code, donations, social media links, all that kind of stuff. So, like I said, they've always done really well with their welcome screen, and once again, they've done a good job here. And so, after you've installed Linux Lite, you can go to this install updates and drivers, and we'll get this screen that'll pop up. You can click on install updates, and it'll update the software list, then install any updates. I just updated an hour or so ago, so no need to do that, but you can do that. And then the same thing right here with drivers. After you've first installed, maybe you got an NVIDIA card, you need the proprietary driver, or the drivers for your particular processor. Click install drivers, and software and updates will pop open, and it'll search for any available drivers for your system, and then you can install them if need be. The only one I have available for my computer right now is the processor code for AMD CPUs, and I've already installed it, so nothing really to do here. And then it's got some instructions for those that are upgrading from older versions of Linux Lite. And you could go back to the main welcome screen, but if you continue scrolling down, you've got links to the Lite Software Center. And like I said, I don't know if I really want to call it a software center. It's more like a list. Let me open that up. Okay, it will update our software list, run through all the PPAs, all that kind of stuff. So let's say I wanted to install some software. It's got a list here, and there's a few things I already installed, but let's say, just for example, I wanted to install Audacity. Just click install. Do you want to proceed? Yes. Boom. Downloads it, installs it. You're done. Now, you saw from the list, it's not really that long. However, you do also have Synaptic Package Manager available. Let me pull up the menu. right here where it says install and remove software, you can go to Synaptic and install, you know, that way. Or, you know, if you're a more experienced user and want to do it via command line, you know, you can pull up the terminal and do an installation that way. Linux Lite uses the XFCE desktop environment, so it is pretty light on the resources. Looking here on the hardware specs, minimum requirements: you only need a 700 megahertz processor and a half a gig of RAM, VGA screen capable of 1024 by 768, and then either a DVD drive or USB so that you can do the installation. And even the preferred specs are, you know, fairly low. 1.5 gig processor, 1024 megabytes of RAM. I mean, that's 1 gig. Um, 1366 by 768 resolution or better, and then once again the DVD drive or USB for installation. So, you know, this is going to work fine on, you know, essentially anything that's been made in the past few years. And really, you could probably even go back, you know, as much as 10 years and still have a computer that's well spec'd out enough that you're going to be able to run Linux Lite. So, like I said, very easy on the resources. I mean, if you're going to run into issues, as far as, you know, is your hardware capable, it's more going to come down to more, you know, maybe you run an application that's fairly CPU or RAM intensive. You know, that might be your issue, but it's not going to be the operating system. So let's take a look at our desktop layout, and you can see that they got some new wallpapers here. This is the default of what you get, and you can change those real easily. Go into desktop settings, go right click, select desktop settings, and you can see all the different wallpapers that they have installed. Not a huge number, but you know, a fair number, and they're pretty nice looking. Um, Tell you what, we'll stick with that one for now. And then, you know, for those of you who, like me, are running multi monitors, you can have different different wallpapers on different monitors if you want to do that. And then you've got this little button right here where it says apply to all workspaces. So, you know, if you know, let's say you've got your desktop set up for 4 different workspaces. Each different workspace could have a different wallpaper if you like. But anyway, so we got some new wallpapers there, and we got a single panel across the bottom, and just kind of going through things. For our menu, we have the Whisker menu. You can either mouse click it or use the super key or Windows key, whatever you want to call it, to open up the Whisker menu. And you can do a keyboard search. So let's say we're looking for LibreOffice. You know, start typing, and boom, there you go. Starts pulling stuff up. You know, or you can point and click with the mouse. Something that they recently changed on the menu is they added a My Computer link, so that now when you hover over My Computer, it lists all of your primary folders on that are within your home folder. So that's kind of nice. And so right next to the menu button, we've got a display desktop button. So basically with that, if you're not familiar with it, if you click it, it'll minimize all of the windows that are running. So click on that, everything's minimized. Click it again, everything goes back to the way it was. So that's convenient if you need to get to the desktop really quick. And then right next to that, we've got a quick launch for Firefox, quick launch for the home folder, and then for the terminal. And then right next to that, we've got all of our open windows. And then moving over to the right hand side, you can see we've got our workplace selector, so you can switch workplaces from here if you like. And then we've got our tray icon. So like this little red and black one right here, that is Simple Screen Recorder, which is what I'm using to record this desktop. Next to that, we've got our internet connections, our our sound icon, and then date/time right there. There is a pretty decent selection of software installed by default. I'm not going to take the time to go through every single thing one by one. A few things that I do want to point out. One, I noticed that there was not a photo management application installed by default. Most of the time, you will see Shotwell, maybe Gthumb, one of those photo management applications installed. Some maybe Digicam if you're on a KDE distribution, but I didn't see any that were pre-installed. Now you can go and install, whatever you want, from the repositories using, go and use Synaptic or even the terminal or whatever. But I just thought it was kind of strange that nothing was installed by default. So there was that little thing. Now, one thing, while I'm talking about software, one little thing about the menu, and I understand why they've set it up this way, but it's a little bit of an irritation to me, and that's that they have it set up so that for these applications it's displaying descriptions of what they are as opposed to the title of what it is. And I realize that that is for the new users who may not know the names of a lot of the programs. But for me, I know what everything. I'm when I'm looking for something. I'm looking for GIMP. I'm not looking for image editing software. When I am going to Office applications, looking here, LibreOffice Writer is listed as new document. The calc is listed as new spreadsheet. I know what I'm looking for. I don't need somebody to tell me to how to that this is for making a new document. Once again, I understand why they did it, but for me, it's more of an irritation than anything else. If I was going to make this my main distro, that's one of the first things I would go in and change. So anyway, there's those little things. And this Lite tweaks is kind of interesting. Let me click on that, and it kind of automates some of the different kind of maintenance and fixes kind of things that you might do, um, maybe from the terminal or whatever. Just looking, at the list here, you've got auto remove packages. So you might want to do that after you do your first update. You can select auto remove packages, begin. It'll ask you for your password, and it'll go and remove any unnecessary packages, stuff that is left over from the whole installation process. And you see it runs pretty quick. Process complete. Do I want to continue using like tweaks? Yes. So there's that. Boot up fix. Cleanups for the cache on your various web browsers. You want to look at the disk usage. Clean up, remove kernels, all kinds of little stuff like that. For the more advanced users, you're already going to know how to do this stuff, but I think it's a nice thing for the new users out there that are going to be using Linux Lite. The help manual is pretty interesting as well. Go and click on it, and it is an HTML document, so it'll open up in essentially any web browser. Pretty neat animations on there too. But you've got home, content, start, and all that kind of thing over here. But real good documentation on pretty much everything. So they've done a real good job with the help manual. And I was kind of going through this last night, looking at various things, and they've got most of your bases covered for questions that a new user might have. I think they've got you covered. So real good help manual here. So that's one of the things I wanted to point out. And what other software stuff was there that I wanted to Oh, you have system back for backing up your system, so you can easily back up your system. Um, and geez, where was some of that other? Oh, here it is. Share hardware configuration. This, I think, is a real neat application for sharing information with the community. You can go and, I clicked on it there. This tool is designed to share basic hardware information with the rest of the community. Information like CPU, memory, graphics, sound, network will be uploaded to the Linux Lite hardware database web page. Need to be connected to the internet to run this. No private wow, I just cannot talk today. No private information gathered. Just click on begin, and it'll go and collects information from your system, and then we'll upload all of that to the community database. Here it says your results will be published within the next hour. Would you like to load the web page now? Ready for viewing? Yes. Let me drag this over here. And so, like I said, mine still has yet to be uploaded, but you can see here, um, all of the different systems that have been uploaded and what everybody's running, all that kind of stuff. So it's a nice tool for sharing with the community. Yeah, hey, my system's running Linux Lite 3.0, and you can see what kind of stuff that they're running, or their hardware specs, that kind of thing. Issues I ran into were relatively minor. One thing, and I don't know whether you want to call this an issue or not, there is no UEFI support. So if you're gonna install this on a computer that's running UEFI, you need to go to your BIOS and set it for legacy mode. Otherwise, Linux Lite is not going to boot for you. That's kind of bummer for me, because my laptop, I've got my laptop set up to run in UEIF mode, and I really like keeping it that way because I've tested it, and on most distributions it boots a lot faster in UEFI as opposed to legacy mode. Um, so that's just kind of my take. Now my main desktop here, I leave that in legacy mode because there are plenty of distros that don't boot in UEF. Wow, wow, cannot say that word today. UEFI mode, and since I'm testing them in that, for simplicity's sake, I leave my desktop in legacy mode. Which is fine for the desktop because usually it's one of those things I turn it on, and even if it takes a few more seconds to boot, once it's on, it's staying on for a long time. So no real big deal, um, but I do like seeing UEIF mode on my distros. So there was that, and then I did notice that this distro is fairly slow to boot, and the first time after booting, the first time you open an application, it's slow to boot then as well. Now, if you go and you're running, let's say LibreOffice, you close it and then you reopen it, it rebooting that application, it boots up faster. So why this is, I'm not exactly sure, but it did it did stick out to me that a lot of the applications were slow to boot, as well as the OS. Now, once it started, everything ran fine, and I mean it's not a long wait, but it was enough that I noticed it. Um, so there was that. Now, I ran into no issues with applications crashing and glitches and all that kind of stuff. So from a functional standpoint, everything is great on this distribution. Um, as well, there's a lot of stuff here for new users. So once again, I highly recommend Linux Lite as a new user distribution. And, having said all that, I think that just about finishes this review up. As always, leave comments, questions, all that kind of stuff down below, and I'll try to get to those as soon as possible. And please, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Love to have you subscribe to the channel. And besides my YouTube channel, be sure to go and check out my website, ajrysick.com. All kinds of tutorials and links to the reviews and all that kind of stuff on my website as well. And as always, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.